Wrestling, simply put, is many things at once, many different shades of athletic theater. And one of those shades includes shock value wrestling, where outrageous moments are what makes this business recession-proof, and it will outlive all of us. So let's enjoy a few of the most mental moments this business has to offer. Scott Steiner has long held a reputation of being one of the most unpredictable and chaotic people in wrestling. In the year 2000, WCW became the perfect playground for a character like him. On the October 23rd edition of Monday Nitro, Steiner was scheduled to face that 70s guy Mike Awesome in a singles bout. Steiner's entrance music hits, and what comes next was just peak WCW madness. Steiner entered with an actual tiger, leaving everyone from the staff to the commentary team in complete disbelief.
What the hell?
Since Steiner never gave anyone any warning about pulling off a stunt like this. Years later, Scott Steiner explained that he saw an animal trainer with the tiger backstage at a WCW house show and took a liking to it and thought that he would bring it out for a cool entrance. It has also been said that Rey Mysterio had a narrow escape as he was wearing zebra striped ring tights that same night. And I don't think a tiger can tell the difference between a real zebra or someone dressed up like a zebra. Unless they start eating them. The first ever WCW Super Brawl featured Doink the Clown, who was back then known as Big Josh. A fun-loving lumberjack accompanied by two large and very real bears, and even though the two bears were muzzled, by having them in an arena full of people with loud music was just asking for trouble. Not to mention that those two poor animals ended up urinating all the way down the ramp. You wouldn't be faulted for forgetting a very, and I mean very, short-lived tag team in the WWE called the Toxic Turtles. During a TV taping on March 9th, 1993, jobbers Dwayne Gill and Barry Hardy were seen backstage by Vince McMahon, goofing off in their knockoff TMNT costumes that they apparently used on local independent shows. McMahon ended up sending them out to wrestle a tag team match that night in those same costumes as Tom and Terry, the Toxic Turtles. They look just like Raph and Mikey from the original 1990 Ninja Turtles movie. And it's hilarious to think that something like this actually happened in a WWE ring. Because it absolutely did, and they even won their one and only match. I have watched many hardcore wrestling style matches, and they are sometimes fun and entertaining to watch, especially if there's a story to back up all the madness that takes place in the ring. And then there are matches like these. There's no storyline and it's just one big spot fest. So the wrestlers here, Madman Pondo and JC Bailey, who I think at that time was 19 years old. Both men very carefully, working almost like a team, climbed the 3 stages of hell while keeping the illusion of wrestling alive also. And one by one they take a suplex from all 3 levels, each being higher and obviously more painful than the previous one. This really makes you wonder, how much are these guys getting paid for the risk that they're taking? I really hope it's more than a hot dog and a handshake, because if it isn't, then that's an outrage. Mae Young signed with WWE when she was in her 70s and somewhat became a comedy act during the Attitude Era. Also during this time, Mark Henry was running with the sexual chocolate gimmick where he became more of a ladies' man, and it was later revealed that he was suffering from sex addiction. Eventually, Mark began showing an interest in Mae Young and the pair developed a relationship, which saw Young getting pregnant. However, after a huge powerbomb at the hands of the Dudley Boys and a massive splash from Viscera, resulted in Mae Young going into labor, and all that emerged was a bloody hand. I would say that WWE staff did try to make it easier for Young during her labor by giving her a cigar to smoke. Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter at the time stated that he had no idea where this came from. However, someone explained that hands were popular sex toys in the 70s and 80s for women, and Meltzer guessed that the idea was Mae Young getting herself off in another decade, and the hand just remained in there for all these years. If you want a collection of strange and bizarre wrestling matches, then For What You're About to See comes to my mind. We have an indie wrestler wrestling a tent, and it almost seems like the tent might actually have a shot at winning here. People seem to be getting creative, and for this guy, his weapon of choice is swinging a pizza. Man cannot wrestle without it. These two, when they combine their powers, can hypnotize their opponent, and it usually works. You have Orange Cassidy, a well-known AEW wrestler who makes being lazy look cool and fun. By the way, is it me or does this guy look like the Johnny Cage of wrestling? Lastly, I'm at a loss of words here, but if wrestling is fake, then somebody really needs to explain me this.